It's doing that thing again with the description. It's an easy fix. I can do it when we run the promos. I can fix it.
Yeah.
But I did it again, Joe. It just does support the stream. Okay. All right. Joe FallenOne Gaming. It is on like Donkey Kong. Because we got Hyle Russell from DKVine.com in the Kongversation. The Kongversation. Joe, give me that countdown.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Get over here! Hi, I'm martial art master Daniel Pacina. You know me as the original Johnny Cage, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, and Smoke. You are tuning in to NerdCage Live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Don't miss an episode or you'll get caged. So let's finish him.
This is Anthony Marquez, better known as Kung Lao for Mortal Kombat. Make sure to like and subscribe to NerdCage Live. Be there. Us.
Hey everybody, this is Dave Niebuhr from Dog Eat Dog, and you're watching NerdCage Live. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel. These are great guys doing what they love to do.
NerdCage Live and Gaming are a perfect match!
Shoot the J, Joe! Okay. Shoot it!
Alright!
Over on NerdCage Live on Twitch, Jay and Joe go live.
Call me Bazooka Joe.
It's all about you.
Kaboom!
Playing both old school and new school games every Tuesday night. Ooh, what a sight!
Jay, stop looking at her face and run!
But she's so beautiful!
So be sure to follow NerdCage Live on Twitch.
Run for your life, Joe! Run for your life, Joe!
Running!
Run faster! Oh no, Joe! The galaxy's doomed because of you!
To scratch your gaming itch.
Oh, nice kick, Joe!
Thank you.
Yo! That's diabolical! Wait. Yo!
That's twitch.tv/NerdCage Live.
Hi, I'm Leah Montalongo, the OG Sindel. Please like, subscribe to NerdCage Live.
This is Ernie C. from Body Count. You're tuned in to NerdCage. Can you like and subscribe?
Hey guys, it's the original Shao Kahn, Brian Glenn, and I'd like you to subscribe to NerdCage Live.
It has begun!
If what you say is true, the Shaolin
And the NerdCage
could be dangerous.
Greetings, citizens. You're now trapped in a NerdCage. We hope you have a smashing good time.
You're now about to witness the strength of geek knowledge. Hello, welcome. That's right, you are trapped in NerdCage Live. This channel is a celebration of all things pop culture, including Donkey Kong. So if you are new to the channel, please hit that like button and please subscribe and share with everybody you know. Helps us more than you know. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by Christmas. I think we can do it. I'm your co-host, Jay St. G, certified geek, 7 days a week coming to you live from yours truly, the land of the orange, the land of Tom Cruise, the land of Anthrax, the land of Earth Crisis of Syracuse, New York. And always among us, it's our moderator and trollhammer, stronger than the DK Banana Slammer. You know him, you love him. It's Joe of FallenOne Gaming. Please introduce our fantastic guest tonight.
Yes, tonight we have Hyle Russell of DK Vine and the Kongversation. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. Joe, before we go any further, who do we got in the chat tonight?
I think I saw a few people in the chat tonight. They're lurking, but they're there. So don't.
Hey, don't be shy, people. Don't be shy. All right. So, Joe, we got some stuff to go over real quick. So, if you haven't already, check out our mid-season finale, Joe.
Yes, our mid-season finale with Doc Coyle of Bad Wolves, God Forbid, and the X-Men podcast.
And our boys spoiler.
Yes, our spoiler discussion of Season 4 of The Boys.
Deadpool.
And our Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler discussion and reunion stream. If you haven't seen that, that was an electrifying stream. Go ahead and go over and see it right after this.
It's available on all podcast platforms. And, of course, Joe, Saturday on Twitch, new game.
Yes, we're going to be beginning a playthrough of Max Payne.
Let's go. It's my first time. Oh, my God. I'm just goddamn excited, man. And, Joe, we're going to be playing another new game on Tuesday.
Yes, on Tuesday will be the beginning of Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yes. And, Joe, you old man, Thursday next week, a week from tonight.
Yes, my birthday stream. I turned 37 on the 19th, but I will be on vacation. So on the 15th, I will be doing a single setting playthrough, Leon A. of Resident Evil 2 Remake.
You can't die, Joe. You can't die. Joe, we will shit on you if you die in your favorite game on your birthday. And Joe, mark your calendars for Tuesday on Twitch, September 24th.
Yes, for the expansion story of Mortal Kombat 1, Chaos Reigns.
Yes. Now listen, if you haven't already, and Hyle's going to talk about it too for his platform, but if you haven't already, please get yourself a NerdCage Live t-shirt. We have so many awesome goddamn designs in our TeePublic, any size, any color, whether you're a skinny booty call or a fat fuck, big or small, we love them all. So many designs to choose from, and there's going to be more designs on the way. Be sure to get yourself a NerdCage Live t-shirt. You're going to love the way you look. I guarantee it. The link to our TeePublic is in every video, every live stream, and of course, across social media. And speaking of social media, Joe.
Yes, if you want to get us on Twitter or Instagram, both handles are @nerd_cage. Our link to our Discord is in the description. Become a member there as well. And our Facebook discussion group, that is NerdCage Nation. We love everything you guys put up there. No spoilers, no politics. So for God's sakes, keep it civil.
Absolutely. Okay, we got all of our BS out of the way. Listen, I'm so goddamn excited for tonight's show. I've been a huge fan of the Kongversation since the pandemic started, and I'm really, really excited to get into it with the founder of and the host of the Kongversation, as well as DKVine.com. Hyle, let's just for starters, go ahead and plug whatever you want to plug, but please just give us a history of what you do, how you started DK Vine, how you started the Kongversation, all that good stuff. But go ahead, man. The floor is yours, buddy.
Oh my God! All right. Well, so. DK Vine, DKVine.com is our primary hub on the web, and we started in 1999. we turned 25 on August 22nd. So
Congratulations.
It makes me feel old as shit, but thank you. It's not really something I'm looking forward to. You're hitting that point where you're like, oh wow, this website I co-founded in high school with my my buddy Chad. I wasn't supposed to still be doing this. This wasn't supposed to be my life. Like, we were excited about Donkey Kong 64. It was the big Donkey Kong game. Like, we were huge Donkey Kong Country fans. We were part of that first gen of Donkey Kong Country fans. 1994 that came out, blew us away. There had nothing like that when it came out. And it's like, we were waiting for the N64 version. And it was finally coming out that November, and we wanted to do a website because we just had all of this giddy enthusiasm for it. And so we just did it as a hobby, right? And it wasn't supposed to last. It wasn't supposed to still be going today. It wasn't supposed to be my career. And I guess I made some wrong turns in life. And before I knew it, I was a Donkey Kong journalist, which... Again, like, nobody sets out to be. It's like I never told my parents I want to be a Donkey Kong journalist when I grow up because they would have sent me away. But it, for whatever reason, has continued to resonate with generations of people to this day. And Donkey Kong's a weird one because it's universally known. It's widely beloved, and yet it's criminally ignored. And I'm not talking about like just games, but I'm talking about like media, like just the gaming press. They just kind of overlook Donkey Kong. And it was probably 12 years ago where it just finally started to dawn on me, we kind of fill a niche that nobody else is really filling. And I'm not like... There's a lot of great Donkey Kong fan sites out there. Donkey Kong Country Atlas is one. A lot of stuff that like falls under the purview of what we cover, but there's just nobody really giving it that serious kind of case study that they do pretty much every other video game series. I mean, like not even just Nintendo. Like, Crash Bandicoot has multiple websites and has, I don't know, like some modicum of respect. And I have some theories about why people just kind of overlook Donkey Kong, but it's like, you know what? Somebody needs to be covering this, and somebody needs to be giving it the love that I think it deserves. And so I think that's when it finally started clicking with me. It was like, I could maybe do this as a career. Because before then, it was just a hobby. It was just something we did on the side. And that was around the time we started the Kongversation podcast, which is the weekly podcast about the greater Donkey Kong universe, which I guess we can get into, like what that actually entails. But it's been going for 12 years now, and people ask me like, how do you do a weekly podcast about Donkey Kong? Like, out of all things, how do you still have things to talk about? There hasn't been a new Donkey Kong game in 10 years. What are you doing? And I'm just like, I could find a topic to talk about from now until I'm in the grave, because it's, and again, it's just not well-tread territory. People don't talk about this, and if I'm filling that niche, so be it. But I think it definitely deserves the love and respect that any other game series that's been going for 40 years or more deserves. So I'm happy to do it. It's fun. I'm never going to be rich from it, but it's something where I wake up in the morning and I look forward to the day ahead. I look forward to like, okay,
I get it.
What nonsense can I talk about? And it's kind of a joke, right? I say I'm a Donkey Kong journalist. That's part of the gag itself, right? Like I'm not taking this seriously. I know it's a laugh, but it's, I think that level of self-deprecation kind of comes with the territory of the series itself. So it's all just kind of like meta upon meta layers of, we know what we're doing. You know what you're doing. We're all here to have a good time. Let's go.
Yeah, and I wouldn't count them out yet because there is a certain movie that did kind of bring it back.
well, we can get into that because, it's a weird time for the series where it's probably the biggest it's been in pop culture since the original Donkey Kong Country came out almost 30 years ago. and yet there's no like everything but the game. Everything but the game right now, and I call it Schrodinger's Kong because it's both living and dead at the same time. Somehow it's widely popular, and yet there's nothing to show for it yet. So,
I hear you.
And it's just wild because one thing that you've been covering on your podcast is there's going to be a Donkey Kong Country expansion at Universal Studios, which I'm not going to lie to you, I never thought in my lifetime that we would be seeing something like that. So as a Donkey Kong fan myself, and I got to just say right now, I have a certain Donkey Kong attachment as well. Not at the level you do, but here's the thing.
Well, that's healthy. Nobody should have the level of attachment I do. All right.
But no, there's a specific reason though. Like, okay, so growing up, I was always aware of Donkey Kong since I was little, even before Donkey Kong Country, because my parents, before they had us kids, my parents went to the arcade a lot. Their favorite game, my dad's favorite game was Centipede, and my mom's favorite game was Miss Pac-Man, and they also loved Pac-Man. There were a few others in there as well, and the original Donkey Kong, the original arcade Donkey Kong. That was also another game that my parents played, so that was always in my zeitgeist anyway. But then Donkey Kong Country came out. But before Donkey Kong Country came out, I always had an attachment to Luigi. Two reasons for that. One, I had an older sibling, so I had an attachment to Luigi. And now I did not have a Nintendo growing up. I'm talking NES. I eventually got into the 16-bit era, but before the 16-bit era, I never had an NES, but all my friends did. So every time I would go to a friend's house and we would play Mario, of course my friends were like, I gotta be Mario! So I was always stuck with Luigi. So Luigi became, I had an attachment to Luigi being the baby brother myself. Now, Donkey Kong Country came out, blew my mind. And the thing I love about Donkey Kong is I've always had, first and foremost, I idolize like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, etc., etc. I always had a gravitation toward like the big guys, and Donkey Kong's the big guy. So when it comes to the immediate Nintendo, Metroid's my favorite, but the immediate Mario, I hate to say Mario universe because I know you're gonna crucify me for that, but
that's fine.
It was always Luigi and Donkey Kong. We're in that part of Nintendo, that those two were my favorite for those reasons: the strong guy and the baby brother. Like you, I always I don't dislike Mario, but Mario's always the star. Come on, Mario's not even the coolest one, So yeah, that's where my attachment from Donkey Kong came from, because Donkey Kong Country blew my mind. We'll get into that. But like I said, I have a soft spot for the strong guys,
Yeah. For me, it's actually Diddy Kong, because Diddy Kong is the anxious millennial of Nintendo. He's he's the one I associate with. He's he's told he's going to be this big video game hero. He's destined for great things, and then the ladder's continually pulled up from him, and it's just oh god, okay, yeah, I see how it's going to be. So yeah, Diddy's who I empathize with most of all. But yeah, I'm a huge Donkey Kong guy. I'm never liked I did like Mario before I got into Donkey Kong Country, but I was always about Luigi, or even playing as the princess or Toad if it's Super Mario Brothers 2. Mario was always this bland Mickey Mouse kind of corporate. Even as a kid, I was he's too corporate. I don't know. Something about Mario, he's a sellout. And so I always gravitated to Donkey Kong is kind of like the Batman to Mario's Superman, or the Donald Duck to his Mickey Mouse, in my opinion.
That's a good way to put it.
Especially the way they're kind of frenemy relationship that they've kind of cultivated. So,
hey Joe, we got a nice compliment in the chat. If you want to get that real quick.
Oh yeah, he says I like podcasts and I like Donkey Kong, so this is pretty nice. That
cool.
was from Days and Matt.
Oh hey, Days and Matt. Yeah, I know Days and Matt. It's a regular of the Kongversation.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Like I said, all part of the people from DK Vine in the Kongversation. We definitely appreciate you being here. And we hope you guys stay a little while, even after we're out tonight. Joe, were you going to say something before the comment came in?
Yeah, I was going to say, Jay knows that me and Nintendo kind of had a little bit of falling out. But back when I was a pure Nintendo kid, I don't know if it's because my hair is on its way out or because I just like to whip my hair back and forth, but Dixie was always my main.
Yeah. No, it's here. Since we're holding up toys, I got like right here, I got my two Diddy and Dixie, like Donkey Kong Country 2. We talked about Donkey Kong Country
Still
being
my favorite, by the way.
Yeah. So like we just did a like almost 3-hour podcast about our like top 10 favorite games, and pretty much universally across the DK Vine staff, and I just want to give a shout out to our amazing staff, because it's pretty much they don't get paid anything. It's all volunteer, and they do it. They basically just do the podcast with me. They pitch in every now and then, and unfortunately, I'm not making enough as a Donkey Kong journalist to like pay a full staff, but they do great work. Cameron, Jeff,
That's
Matt,
great.
Joe, Dustin, the whole Idaho crew, Gibbon, they basically make it possible, because I already stretched myself way too thin, and if I didn't have them having my back, I would not be able to do what I do. So, but yeah, they like it's pretty much universal that Donkey Kong Country 2 is the like favorite of not just the series, but I think most of our favorite games. I can't
It
speak for
was
everyone,
the
but
absolute peak.
yeah.
By the way, we played it on Twitch, 2 years ago now, Joe? We played about
Something like that.
Yeah, we played it on Twitch 2 years, and we completed it. We did, 102%. We completed it.
Yeah.
Still holds up. Like,
Yes.
don't get me wrong. I like all the Donkey Kong Country games, but the second one, I can't put a finger on. There's just something about the vibe of the second one, the stakes, what they expanded upon from the first game. I will say this, though, and I know I'm going to get crucified for saying it, and I still say this to this day. I still think the first game looks better graphically.
I would say the first game, I think, has, I don't want to say a better vibe, but it's a unique vibe. It feels a lot more somber and a lot more atmospheric in places. And I think with the second one, not so much with the second one, but that's where they started like making it a little bit more cartoony, a little bit more exaggerated. Not everywhere, like
not just that, but I think the main reason for it is I think maybe because the second one has so much content in there, and of course we're not going from like left to right anymore. We're going right to left and up and down, etc. I just think maybe just to give a little bit of leeway, I think graphically it was just a tad bit less, so they could fit more frame rate, etc., etc. That's why I think the first one was, for example, I can pinpoint something. The TNT barrel in the first game, when you see the explosion of the fiery explosion, it looks more realistic in 1 than it did in 2.
Yeah.
Because the second, like you said, it was more cartoony looking. Where the first one, I just want to pinpoint, like, I just feel like the first one looks better, but the second one I love more. The second one's still the better game. I like everything more about the second one, but I think if I'm looking at it, I feel like the first one still holds up better.
See, I don't think I'm capable of saying anything bad about Donkey Kong Country 2. I think I can feel like my body tensing up as I even try to approach that. So I'm just gonna back off, and I'll just nod my head, say sure.
It's a 10 out of 10. It's in my.
And I still say to this day that the MVP of both, and I think this is just universally known, is that the MVP of both games is David Wise.
David Wise, just amazing soundtrack. Evelyn Novakovic also did a lot of the music for the first one, and number 3. But David Wise, I think, was responsible for the entirety of the soundtrack for the second one, and it's absolutely, like, I think my all-time favorite game soundtrack, just because it's. Talking about being an anxious millennial, but it's definitely soothing. I can hear the music and it just calms me. It's like I'm at a day spa or something. I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, there it is.
It's funny you mentioned that. I can't go to sleep without my video game music playlist. And Donkey Kong Country 2, well, actually all 3 of them are on that playlist. So, yeah, it calms me and soothes me I need to have the background noise, where if I have my fan on, my air conditioner on, or my video game music, that's how I sleep. Not to mention, I happen to work overnight, so I sleep during the day, so I need something to, like, put me away.
It just reminds me of
not
work
to go to the
now.
dark side with it or anything, but we did go to Sonic Symphony, and that was amazing. But I still, in the back of my mind, I was like, dude, I wish I could have went to Video Games Live when David Weiss was there, because that was awesome.
Yeah. I actually got to see him at MagFest in January 2020, right before the pandemic shut everything down. He performed at MagFest with Kev Bayless, who he has a band with, and Kev Bayless, who was an artist at Rare and was responsible for the modern Donkey Kong design, the design of Diddy Kong, and so got to see him perform live right before I had to stay indoors for a year. So it was really, really cool to get that, crossed off my bucket list.
Yeah, for sure.
So Hyle, another thing I want to, going back to what I was saying earlier about Luigi and Donkey Kong, I want to tell you, I think I may have shared the story before, but I'm going to share it with NerdCage Nation again. So, the very first video game system I actually got as a gift was actually a Sega Genesis. So here's the thing, though, like, obviously I didn't get a regular Nintendo growing up. So when I got a Sega in 1993, I believe it was, now I wanted a Super Nintendo so bad for Christmas. I really did. I wanted a Super Nintendo so bad for Christmas because, I had a really, really big attachment to Super Mario World, because Super Mario World was on, like, every single Super Nintendo kiosk at every single department store over here in the East Coast. Your Sears, your Kmart, your Toys R Us, etc., etc., etc. Now, when I got the Sega Genesis for Christmas, I wasn't mad, because I also did like Sonic the Hedgehog, and I wasn't mad because I think I'm not gonna say I was a humble kid. I was a brat, but I will say this: I was humble to get a Sega Genesis for Christmas because I never had a video game system prior. So I was happy to get a Sega Genesis, and of course I immediately jumped on Sonic the Hedgehog, Mortal Kombat, etc., etc. But when Donkey Kong Country came out, now obviously, being 7, 8 years old, I wasn't working, and the only way I could make money, there was only 2 ways for me to make money. The neighborhood garage sale, selling my toys, and mowing lawns. $5. Yeah. My parents gave me $5. Went a long way back in the 90s, just saying. Yeah. But so yeah, when Donkey Kong Country came out, that was the game that made me not want to, like, jump ship per se, but to get a Super Nintendo in addition to a Sega. So so I mowed lawns like crazy, and every garage sale I tried to get as much money as for garage sale as I could. So I had enough to buy a Super Nintendo, and it was Donkey Kong Country that made me want to get a Super Nintendo on my own, even though I already had a Sega Genesis. But it was Donkey Kong Country that made me get one.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country, like, it's kind of, if you weren't around that, you really don't know what a big deal it was, especially with the console wars of the early 90s, where if you were of a certain age, let's say you were like 12 years old or younger, it definitely mattered, Nintendo versus Sega. Like, it was a debate. It was something that you always felt like you had to defend your side of the console war. And, generally it's whatever your parents get you, right? Like, whatever you're fortunate enough to have, that's the side you're going to be on. And so, I was a Nintendo kid just because that's what my parents bought me, right? We had an NES, and then they surprised me. I didn't even ask for a Super Nintendo. They surprised it for me for my birthday one year, and I was like, this is too much. Like, what the hell are you doing? But I was very much, like, pro Nintendo, and then Sega had that ad campaign where they just made you feel so pathetic for owning a Super Nintendo instead of a Genesis. And it's just like, oh my God, my self-esteem, my fragile little child self-esteem can't handle this. And then Donkey Kong Country came out, and not only did it look so fucking amazing, not only, like, my favorite animals growing up were monkeys and gorillas, like primates. And so all of a sudden you had a game all about them, and like when I actually played it, I was like, this is everything I've ever wanted in a video game. Like, everything about this is just dialed into my psyche, who I am, who I'm going to be. This is phenomenal. But with Donkey Kong Country, Nintendo of America at least changed their whole like marketing strategy against Sega, and that was when they rolled out the like now infamous Play It Loud campaign. But it like people make fun of it, but at the time, if you're like 10 years old in the mid 90s, it was like, hell yeah, here we go. Like, bringing the fight, finally. Where have you been, Nintendo? And like, we just talked a little bit about this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Like, they rolled out the Play It Loud campaign at the 1994's Summer Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago. And with Donkey Kong Country, it was just like the rebirth of Nintendo. Right, and it wouldn't last long because then PlayStation would come out later that year and kind of like they would finally like knock out Sega, and then all of a sudden like they make their own new competition that would permanently best them. But it was just this huge validating moment as a Nintendo kid to not only have like the game, the hot game of the year, but also it was just like something so up my alley. And like, it's no wonder I became a lifelong fan from that point on, to the point where I don't even associate as a Nintendo kid anymore. Like, my loyalty shifted to that point, and I became more about Donkey Kong and Rare, you know, even than Nintendo. So,
yeah.
See,
Also,
I was a Nintendo kid.
Go ahead.
I was a Nintendo kid up until a certain, you know, console came out. And I flip-flop between Xbox and PlayStation for a little while, but I can't deny that Nintendo has cornered their side of the market so well that they don't even have to be in competition with the other consoles because they're a console of their own.
Yeah.
Well, also, I was going to say, Hyle, like, when 1994, when I first saw Donkey Kong Country at one of them kiosks, and I want to say it was, I don't know if it was Toys R Us or Sears, I saw it at first. It was one of those stores, but when I saw those pre-rendered 3D graphics, I swear my mind, my 8-year-old mind was blown, and I thought that was peak. I was like, there's no way graphics will get any better than this. It was the most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen in my life. I thought nothing could get better. I think it was like one of very few times that something like that, graphically, something blew my mind. And I have to say another one of that moments was when Super Mario 64 came out. But to me, I think my mind was more blown at Donkey Kong Country, seeing that for the first time. It was just an incredible sight to behold. But not only it was an incredible sight to behold, but like, it plays well. It runs smooth. It's like, you know, it was very rare for not only a game to look good, but play good too. It was just like everything like happened at once. And it was like, again, for those who weren't there, like it was the best time to be a kid, I swear, in my life.
Yeah.
All right, so Joe, do you think we should roll out some of our basic NerdCage Live questions for our guests?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get those out there.
Okay. Let's get away from video games for a moment. We want to get to know Hyle a little bit here. So one of these questions we love to ask anytime we have a first-time guest on. Gun to your head. Go ahead, if you can, just name your top 5 movies of all time. Your favorite movies.
Oh my god, my movies. All right, I don't even know if I have top 3 movies. All right. I think my favorite movie is still the original Ghostbusters.
Nice.
I was like, I lived in Los Angeles for a while. I was into like screenplay writing, and I just think it's like the perfect comedy script. It's dry. It very slowly builds the absurdity until you don't even realize what's happening. And it's like, I don't even like the franchise per se. Like, I haven't seen any of the new ones. I just like go back to that first movie and I'm like, this is just such an artfully done piece of absurdity, and yeah, I've studied it more often in my life than I've actually just watched it, just as a piece of filmmaking. But like after that, Jesus, you put me on the spot here. Like, of course, like, you know, I'm not a cinephile really, but like, you know, I like the classics, any of the like. If it's in the Criterion collection, I'll watch it once at least, just to, you know, like Kurosawa or whatever. But then I'm also like a Star Wars kid. MCU, really got into that. You know, grew up with Batman, and you know, so I'll always go see a Batman movie, and you know, roll the dice and see how the quality. But other than that, like I mostly just like watch documentaries. I'm pretty boring actually outside of my Donkey Kong fetish. I'm like, generally I'll have something in the background for noise, but I'll be reading or I'll be working, and I just don't really have time to actually like invest in anything.
Did you find the time to see Deadpool 3 yet?
I haven't seen it yet. So I haven't really, like, since the pandemic, I've really lost all incentive to go to the theater. So I'm just like, I'll watch it when it's on Disney Plus. I hate to say it, but like it's one of those things.
It'll be there probably next month.
Yeah. So I can wait, honestly. Like, that's what the pandemic taught me, is I don't really have to rush out to a theater for that communal experience. Like, I really wanted to see Furiosa because I loved Fury Road when it came out. But
Furiosa was hella fun.
Yeah, but it just, again, one of those things where I didn't find the time, and I was like, oh well, I'll just catch it on stream. So, you know, I'm fine with it, because honestly, I just hate crowds anymore. I've become so antisocial, and so like I go into a grocery store and I'm just like, I can't deal with this. This is too much. I'm gonna walk out. So.
No,
you just mentioned Batman. Who's your favorite Batman? You can name more than one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that's a layered question. Like, I grew up with Keaton, so I always have a soft spot for Keaton. I love the Nolan movies, so you know Christian Bale's up there. But honestly, I'd go with Adam West too. Like, I think the concept of Batman is so durable, and you can just bend it. You can bend it and it breaks. Like, I think like Clooney, I would never say like but you know, I like the campy Batman. I like the super serious Batman. It just works.
Now, if we want to meld the topics a little bit, did you get to see Super Mario Brothers movie, and what'd you think of it if you did?
So that's one of the 2 movies I've seen in theaters since the pandemic, because I had to go for my job. I had to actually go see it. I had to like take notes in the theater and then immediately write a review, immediately do a podcast a couple days later. So yeah, I went there, and look, I think as a piece of fan service, it was great. I think it was, you know, it's never going to be like what you want from anything like this, especially made by Illumination, especially like you have to kind of water it down for the mainstream audiences. You kind of have to, you know, I get it. But as far as like Donkey Kong goes, I was very pleased with what they did with it. I think Donkey Kong derailed the movie. I think as a screenplay, it was garbage, because it spent like 1/3 of it focusing on Donkey Kong, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, Luigi's barely in this. But I wasn't complaining either. I was like, all right, you know what? This is going to be good for Donkey Kong. This is going to be good for the fandom for Donkey Kong. So yeah, hell yeah. Like, ruin your movie. I don't care.
Yeah.
And how'd you feel about Seth Rogen as the voice?
Seth Rogen, he did an okay job. He's never going to be Donkey Kong in my head, and I wasn't a fan of the Donkey Kong Country cartoon growing up. Like, I'm infamously, I've had my issues with that, and like all these people got in because they saw the cartoon, and I'm just like over here like, well, actually, they got this part of the lore wrong, and they don't break out in song every 5 minutes, and but like looking back, that voice cast was pretty much perfection, and so I don't think you could.
Except for one guy, right, Jay?
Yeah.
Jay hates Chris Pratt, by the way.
Oh, well, I mean, I think that's pretty universal these days, right? But
I hate him as a performer and an actor. I don't hate him as a person. I generally feel that way. I don't hate the guy as a person. I just think he's a terrible actor. He does the same voice for every character.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, I absolutely loved the Mario movie, and I had my gripes with it too, but I absolutely loved it. But for me, the MVP was Jack Black. But I always thought Seth Rogen talked like an ape, so I was perfectly fine with him being Donkey Kong. I was more mad about Cranky, because Joe knows this. I was screaming to the heavens that Larry David should have been Cranky Kong. He's perfect.
Yeah, which is funny because he still went for kind of a Larry David kind of voice anyway, so like Fred Armisen. But I think I was more happy with the portrayal of their relationship than I was their voice. Like they got that aspect, I think, pretty much perfect. Like they're kind of it's a father-son relationship, and I thought that was that's what surprised me about the movie, and that's why I rated it as high as I did, because they didn't screw that up. The emotional core was there, and for a movie that it just is like riddled with like meaningless needle drops, like why is Aha's Take on Me playing right now? Because it's a kids movie. I get it, but it was fine, and it brought a lot of new people to Donkey Kong over the last year and a half. So it's like the week that came out, our website traffic spiked to an extent I've never seen in my entire time running it, and it really hasn't tapered off much since then. So it's been really
that's good.
Really a boon for Donkey Kong exposure, awareness, I guess.
Agreed.
Now, going into the sequel, I think we all have the suspicion that we're probably going to get Wario and maybe Waluigi. Is there any actor you want to see play the role?
For Wario?
Yeah.
See, that's outside of my purview. Like, I feel like a fraud even, like, daring to suggest anything that's outside of the Donkey Kong universe. Like, it's like, yeah, like, Danny DeVito would be good. Like, that's probably the safe answer. Like, that would be, I think, a crowd-pleasing, but a nerd-pleasing kind of crowd-pleasing. It wouldn't just be, like, audiences taking their kids and be like, I know that voice. Yay! It would like, I think it would work, because he's, like, Frank Reynolds, It's Always Sunny. That's basically Wario anyway, right? So, yeah, for sure. Like, for me, like, my fantasy casting has always been because there's a rumored, like, Donkey Kong spin-off that's been rumored since before the movie came out.
Yeah, I think what's gonna happen, again, I'm just speculating, so no one come at me like this. I'm just speculating. It's just, I have a hunch. Yeah. I think we'll get a Donkey Kong series on Peacock along with a Luigi. I think we're gonna get a Donkey Kong and a Luigi spin-off on Peacock. That's just my suspicion. I don't think, as much as I love Donkey Kong, I don't see that being a movie that would draw in the theater. I'm just being honest. As much as I love Donkey Kong.
Yeah, but you gotta look at what Nintendo's also, like, doing with the franchise. Like, they're planting the seeds, and they've been planting the seeds for a while, but with the theme park in Orlando and Osaka, Japan, and, like, that's going to be bringing in, like, the theme park crowd. That's something I've learned since, like, this news started breaking. It was, like, rumored all the way back in 2017 that they were doing a Donkey Kong expansion to Super Nintendo World, like, long before Super Nintendo World was even officially, like, confirmed. And then one thing I've learned is the theme park crowd, that's a whole separate, like, geek universe than video games. Like, that whole ecosystem inspires such fanaticism for any attractions, and so that's going to be like this self-perpetuating machine for creating new Donkey Kong fans. Like, having that whole roller coaster and that whole, like, almost half of the real estate of Super Nintendo World is Donkey Kong, which is just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, no, same here.
So I think there's definitely room to grow, and I think you're right. They might do a series on Peacock or something, but I think a Donkey Kong movie is something, especially with Miyamoto being a producer. He's definitely championing.
Yeah, that's
championing
Donkey Kong is his baby. Like,
yeah, and that's what a lot of people don't realize is he's been at the forefront of making sure Donkey Kong gets stuff. Since Rare was bought by Microsoft in 2002, but even before that, like he was the one who, before Rare got the license to do Donkey Kong Country, he was trying to get a new Donkey Kong game off the ground before then, and then it was just serendipity that they had these new Silicon Graphics workstations, and they were like, oh, well, why don't you do Donkey Kong? And but he's the one who's been like, every couple years, he's like, nobody's doing Donkey Kong. We need somebody to do a Donkey Kong game. And the rumor has been that they've been working internally on a Donkey Kong game for some time, but
I've read some rumors here and there that the team that worked on Mario Odyssey is working on a 3D Donkey Kong game that's more likely going to be on the Switch successor coming out.
Yeah, so
I believe there's some truth to that. And
what happened was Vicarious Visions, Activision was actually doing a new Donkey Kong game after Retro moved on, after Tropical Freeze, and we did a whole expose about this. We were the ones who broke the story, and it was later confirmed by multiple sources, but that Activision kind of pulled the rug out from that and said, why are you doing Donkey Kong? Fuck that. Like, you know, we don't own Donkey Kong. And so the project kind of fell apart. And then the last I heard is they were going to bring it internally back to Nintendo. But then, you know, that's beyond my reach. I don't have any sources in Nintendo Japan. So.
I have a hunch. Okay, again, no proof. Yeah. I mean, the fact that we just got Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake, and then we got we have a report of Country Returns coming in January. If they weren't working on something Donkey Kong related, I don't think we'd be getting those specific games. So I have a hunch.
I think Mario vs. Donkey Kong, when it was the 20th anniversary of that this year, and they really wanted to ride that wave of the Mario movie and the new exposure for Donkey Kong. So that made sense. And then with the HD version of Donkey Kong Country Returns, it's the theme
park.
Which
we will be playing at launch, Joe.
Like the theme park is mostly based on Donkey Kong Country Returns, which hasn't been commercially available for years now, and so like we predicted that they were gonna come out with that. We didn't have any inside knowledge. It was just like it's the most brain dead thing they could do. And they did it.
We're seeing the end of the Switch life cycle right now. We're getting all these reports and remakes coming, which I am fine with because, like you just said, a lot of these games haven't been commercially available. You know, so I'm pretty excited that we're getting these games. I do have a major wish though, and I want to know if maybe you know something, maybe you don't, but
okay.
I never owned a Game Boy growing up, so I never got to play Donkey Kong 94. I'm hoping Donkey Kong 94 comes to Switch Online.
I'm sure it will. They just passed the 20th anniversary of that in June, so it's weird that they haven't. Like, there's a lot of Donkey Kong stuff it seems like they're sitting on right now, and I don't just mean like the mainline stuff like Donkey Kong 94, Donkey Kong 64, the Donkey Kong Land trilogy, but like Diddy Kong Racing. Now Diddy Kong Racing, of course, its rights issues are wildly complicated for those who aren't aware. It's not actually a Nintendo game. It's owned by Rare. Nintendo licensed the name of Diddy Kong Racing, licensed the character of Diddy Kong, licensed the character of Crunch, the Kremlin, and at one time licensed Banjo when Nintendo had the rights to Banjo. It's a whole convoluted mess.
But it seems that Nintendo and Microsoft do have a working relationship. I mean, we've seen it. Like obviously, like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark coming out on like both systems, you know, and multiplayer. So and of course Smash Brothers. One thing you've covered, you know, a lot is the King K. Rool on Smash Bros. As well as Banjo-Kazooie. So I feel like, yeah, there's these rights issues, but I'm sure Nintendo and Microsoft will come to some kind of agreement because they seem to be the only companies willing to play ball with each other, it seems.
I have no concern about that. I think it's only a matter of time before we see Diddy Kong Racing, which, talk about games that haven't been commercially available, hasn't been commercially available since 2001. So it's like that's a game from my childhood that I really want younger gamers to be able to experience. Like, you know, I always feel like the odd person out because everybody goes on about the new Mario Kart. I'm just like, yeah, but do you remember Diddy Kong Racing? Do you remember how you had 3 vehicles and there was a story and Banjo and Conker were in it and how sweet that was? And, you know, because like I said, like Donkey Kong Universe, one of the things we covered DK Vine beyond Donkey Kong is Banjo-Kazooie and Conker, and I like the MCU because I love shared universes, and Rare was doing a shared universe long before it was actually in vogue in popular culture.
Yeah.
Like they were doing
well,
it in the 90s.
Hold on. I gotta say this though, off topic.
Yeah.
Toho, the Godzilla movies, they were doing shared universes in the goddamn 60s. Come on now, Rodan, Mothra, Varan, Baragon.
Yeah. Like it comes in waves, it comes in cycles, but like it's funny. Like the only frame of reference I had for a shared universe in the 90s was beyond like comic books, which of course like wasn't really mainstream outside of like the times they would make the newspaper. Like, oh, they killed Superman. Oh, they broke Batman's back. We're gonna write an article about it because it's an easy story. But the only like shared universes like I could point to and say this is what they're doing with Donkey Kong is like the ABC TGIF like Family Matters universe. Urkel would show up in other shows and like so. It's definitely more in like the pop culture vernacular. You don't have to just be a geek to understand a shared universe these days. So, but yeah, like Rare was doing it in the 90s, and like very, very subtly, they're still doing it today. Like Sea of Thieves, like still like references and nods things like to Donkey Kong. They can't come out and say it, but they've got like all these like covert references in there. So, you know, it's really wonderful that I don't just have to talk about Donkey Kong exclusively. Like I have a very limited purview of what I can talk about on DK Vine, but that's fine. It keeps me more honest. It's like I don't think I could be just a regular games journalist because I like the challenge of just having this very, very narrow amount of stuff I can talk about and trying to like make gold out of that. Like it's a fun creative challenge, and it was just like, all right,
you do a wonderful job of it. So
well, thank you. But yeah, it's like cover the new Call of Duty. I'm like, I have nothing to say.
I have too much ADHD for that. My mind goes fucking everywhere when it comes to games. So
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like, I'm not much of a gamer outside of my day job. Like, that's the weird thing is people ask me, what games do you like outside of Donkey Kong or Rare?
And you know what? Why I actually asked you that.
That's what we were going to ask, but...
Yeah.
So, what are
that's
your...
what we call a segue.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll make it a little easier for you.
Okay.
You don't have to say a specific game, but...
Yeah, it can be franchise.
But it can be a game series because, like, my favorite series is Mortal Kombat. His is Resident Evil and whatnot. So So go ahead. So what would you say your 5 favorite games / game series outside Nintendo and Donkey Kong DKU?
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, well, Donkey Kong, Banjo-Kazooie, but. Do I even have 5? Like, I grew up a Mario fan, right? Like, Super Mario was my thing before Donkey Kong Country kind of stole me away. Right, like it was my first video game wife, if you will, and then I got into Mortal Kombat like when it first made the jump to home consoles. Of course, I was like a Nintendo kid, so we just had the sweaty version of Mortal Kombat, and I was always afraid my parents wouldn't let me play Mortal Kombat, so it'd be something I would play over at friends' house. To be like, oh yeah, you got Mortal Kombat 2? All right. And I went through a Street Fighter phase. Street Fighter 2 was like huge in the year or two before Donkey Kong Country. Like that was, you had the G.I. Joes, and you had like so much in the way of tie-ins, and I was big into fighting games, but the thing is, I was never good at fighting games. Like button mashing is just beyond me. It's like doing like really complicated calculus to me. Like I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I just end up like mashing or spamming a couple moves when I was a kid, and I think I realized it wasn't for me, but I was just so enticed by the colorful characters and just the presentation and but like okay, so here's the thing. I don't have time to play video games really outside of my job because I like to like go hiking. I'm an avid hiker. I just love to get out and get outdoors, and then I have to like make time. You know, I'm married, so I have to make time for that, and I like but I'm still like invested in the video game franchises that existed in my life before Donkey Kong. So like the new Mortal Kombat game, Mortal Kombat 1, right? I'll watch YouTube playthroughs of it because I want to like, I was like, what are they doing with Mortal Kombat these days? So I'll like just watch the whole thing, and like it's a movie, like, right? And that's I'm weird. I realize like I'm a fucking freak, but it's
we all are here at NerdCage Live.
Yeah, it's kind of a preliminary
like
here.
If I'm gonna play a video game outside of what I have to do for my job, it's gonna be like SimCity or something that I can just kind of like unplug my brain a little bit, and I'm doing something that like activates some part of my brain, some creative part of my brain that like engages me in a way that I'm not getting from the games I have to talk about. Yeah. And but like outside of that, like I don't know, like Nintendo Switch Online I've been using quite a bit. I'll just when I'm like watching TV at night, I might break out my Switch and I'll pull up a game. I was like, oh, I haven't played this since I was a kid. I'm gonna pull this up and give it a whirl, you know. But I'm not really an active gamer outside of DK Vine, which
no, I'm in the same boat with you. Like the only time I really play games, honestly, is when I'm on Twitch with Joe. We Twitch twice a week, and we have obviously. Joe, Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil are always in Nintendo games, are always in like our rotation. But we're playing games but we're also playing games that we either of us haven't played or we haven't played in a while. Like for example, this Saturday we're gonna start Max Payne. I haven't played Max Payne since middle school when I was at his house.
Yeah.
Like Joe brought up, Jay, we should play Max Payne. It's it's classic. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then I'll be honest, and we're gonna play Batman Arkham Asylum because our fan base loves comics, and we haven't played well, actually, no, we did. We played Gotham Knights when that launched.
Yeah, if you want to count that.
But after playing Gotham Knights, we're like, well, we really got to play the Arkham games, and we're finally gonna have the time that we're gonna play Batman Arkham Asylum. I haven't played Arkham Asylum since it came out. And we're gonna be playing the HD remake that just recently came out like a year ago. So we're pretty. But anyway, I'm in the same boat with you. Yeah. I don't have time to play games outside NerdCage and Joe Blow. So
yeah, so I think like Arkham City might have been like the last mainstream game I played. Like I didn't play Arkham Knight, but I played Arkham City, and I just caught up with Arkham Knight like recently. I watched a YouTube walkthrough of it because when the Suicide Squad game was coming out, and I was hearing all this stuff, I was like, wait, they're doing what? They're doing what with it? What did they do to this universe? And I was like, I never played Arkham Knight, so I'm kind of curious how it left off. And then I was like, really? That's how they ended it?
Yeah.
What do you think of Suicide Squad? Have you played that?
I refused to play it, but Joe played it.
To be perfectly honest. I mean, it got so much bad publicity and everything. Maybe I'll give it a whirl one day, but it's not something that's high on my list because of how badly received it was.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a little bitter of how they did spoiler alert. I felt like they did Batman dirty, especially for being one of Kevin Conroy's last things. It's not his last recording as Batman, but it's one of the last things he did. And I just feel like they did him dirty. I guess the last thing he ever did is the Justice or the Crisis on Infinite Earths. I haven't watched it yet, but still, I'm like that's how you bring Batman's story to an end that way in that game.
Yeah.
Like fuck this shit. I don't want to play it. But they were bad. It was getting bad publicity before it even came out. Like I didn't think Gotham Knights was terrible. The story was great.
Sure. It's a grind.
The story was great.
Yeah.
But the problem with Gotham Knights, and like I said, we played it on Twitch live at launch, is that you either gotta fucking grind, or like the bosses are gonna be super difficult, and because me and Joe don't have time to grind, we just said fuck it, let's do it raw, let's go in, and it took us a while, but we got through it. There are some good things about the game, but the bottom line is the Arkham games are so good. Like, I would have been fine if they just copy, cut, and pasted the Arkham formula to Gotham Knights. I would have been good with that, but no, Gotham Knights wanted to do its own thing, and it just didn't quite hit well.
And this is like again, I haven't really been invested in a franchise since the second one, so I can't really like sit here and make any declarative statements about it. But it's from the outside looking in, it was like, why isn't Gotham Knights the follow-up to the Arkham games?
It should have been, because it looked
and the Suicide Squad is its own thing. Yeah.
But now since we're still kind of in this category of games you play outside, obviously we cover Resident Evil a lot, and in fact we're playing Resident Evil 2 remake next week. Joe's gonna one sitting gonna go right through. But anyway, how do you feel about Resident Evil? Is this something you ever dabbled in, or?
I think I might have played it once. My friend growing up had a PlayStation, and I might have played it with him. But yeah, I was never a PlayStation guy because what happened was, got a GameCube, and then Rare was bought by Microsoft, so I got an Xbox, and so I went down that trajectory just to follow them. And because of that, I've never owned a PlayStation, and like I've even thought about like, oh, I should probably get a PlayStation 5. It's about time I get one, but now it's like, well, maybe I want a Steam Deck instead. So it's just like I was never there at the inception of the series, and for me, it's kind of hard to jump in something midstream. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I have to be there on the ground floor. That's just the way my brain is wired, and it's always been wired. Like, I think that's also why Donkey Kong Country hit as hard as it did, because it came out like right when I turned 11 years old, and so. It was like I'm here at the inception. Obviously, there's Donkey Kong games before that, but it was the start of something new. And I was like, this is my thing. I'm here from the start. It's not like a hand-me-down. So, like, Resident Evil, I've never gotten into. I've only, like, absorbed anything about it through, like, cultural osmosis and just, like, not the movies, obviously, but, like, just, being in the world of video games, you pick stuff up from your friends or just through like ancillary scuttlebutt. So, sorry, I can't really contribute much.
I just figured it was something. I was just generally curious about that. Yeah. And that's what you just said about Donkey Kong is kind of how I feel about Mortal Kombat. Like, Mortal Kombat's my all-time favorite IP because Joe and I, we were there when it first out. And I'll never forget my mom's reaction at seeing the arcade machine. My mom, like, my mom's Mexican, pray on the rosary. That's my mom. My dad's the hard-nosed conservative, and like, my mom's like this game. And then of course, then the whole spiel with Oprah, and Oprah was, talking about Mortal Kombat, how it makes kids violent, all that other shit. So my mom listened to Oprah and didn't listen to me. So my mom didn't let me play it, and then I ran over to my dad. My dad's like, "Oh, just let him play it," So. Yeah. So I was there from the very beginning of Mortal Kombat, and obviously, you see all that. It's I never jumped off the ship, and we cover Mortal Kombat quite closely here, whether if it's a new game coming out, a new movie coming out, and we've had some people who help make the game on the show and whatnot. So and I guess I'll make the announcement right here, right now. I don't have a thumbnail, but I'll make the announcement. Your boy Jay will be at the Cleveland Gaming Classic in Cleveland, Ohio, because Ed Boon, John Tobias will be there, along with Carrie Hoskins, who, better known as Sonya, Sal DeVita, who played Nightwolf in the Cybernetic Ninjas, will be there. Not only that I'll be attending there, but I'm actually going with TabMonk99, Justin McCollum, Toasty from Komidogu. Yeah, we're actually rooming together, so it's pretty exciting. So yeah, I will be at Cleveland Gaming Classic. So if anybody in the Ohio area or surrounding area plans on being there, any of the Mortal Kombat fans plan on being there, stop on through, say hello. Maybe I'll give you a sticker or some kind of merch or something. So yeah, NerdCage Live will be at the Cleveland Gaming Classic, and Hyle, I can't tell you how giddy I am to be able to, meet the guy, Ed Boon, and John Tobias. I'm giddy.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
trying
imagine that.
I'm trying to collect myself right now. Like, oh my god, what am I gonna say to these dudes?
It's funny because I got to meet people behind Donkey Kong Country, people from Rare and Playtonic now, and initially I went to my first E3 in 2015. Rest in peace E3, but that was a year where so many of them were there, and so it was at first I was I don't want to bother them, but they were so not used to people knowing who they were that they wanted to talk with me. They wait, you're a fan? Oh, and then they had to get it out. So it was kind of the shoe was on the other foot there. But Mortal Kombat, can I just say, the only Mortal Kombat game I've ever actually owned, and it was because I was able to convince my mom to get this one for me because I convinced her it was less violent, was the Game Boy version of the original Mortal Kombat. And
boy.
man, I'm losing my earbud there. So it was a piece of shit, but I beat it. I was so happy when I actually beat it. It was, I don't have to tell you if you're a Mortal Kombat fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my only time I've ever actually owned a Mortal Kombat game.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. Hold on. So it looks like I'm having so don't smile, Hyle, because you're full screen right now. But the thing is, it's not letting me. Joe, it's doing that thing again where I can't change screens.
Oh.
The Streamlabs is running a little slow right now. I don't know. Maybe that might be a sign here. I'm trying to get back to our normal screen here. All right, so Hyle, I gotta ask you, since we're on the topic of Mortal Kombat, who are your favorite, your mains, your favorite characters?
So, I love Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage was not in the Game Boy version. So, yeah. So yeah, if I can't play as Johnny Cage, then as a kid, I loved the ninjas, Scorpion and Sub-Zero and Reptile and but yeah, I don't even know who would be my main nowadays. I having not actually kept up with it outside of YouTube walkthroughs, I don't really know who I would feel the best under my thumbs, right?
Yeah.
I would probably stick with Johnny Cage though, just because I love a showboating doofus.
It's funny. I feel like Johnny Cage kind of got second wind, as of the last decade, because when Midway got bought up by Warner Brothers and it became NetherRealm Studios, and they retold the timeline. I feel like Johnny Cage kind of got that second win, a revival or resurgence of popularity, because he's been more of the prime focus. I feel like Johnny Cage now is the new Luke, is what Liu Kang was in the 90s. I feel like Johnny Cage is now what Liu Kang was back in the day. He's the
Liu Kang's basically
now.
Become Raiden.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of crazy. Plus, they brought it full circle now with Mortal Kombat 1 with the Jean-Claude Van Damme skin. for Johnny Cage because that's who they always wanted.
Yeah.
That's what, they didn't even want to make Mortal Kombat when it first started. They wanted to make a game around Jean-Claude Van Damme, and they couldn't get it off the ground.
It's funny because I always think of what was it, Lyndon Ashby was his name?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I saw the Mortal Kombat movie opening weekend, and like that's Johnny Cage in my mind now because like, and maybe that's why like that is he's like risen in prominence because the impression that movie left on so many people like as like Liu Kang, Sonya, Johnny Cage are like the trinity in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, and I'm still going into the next one cautiously optimistic with Carl Urban being Johnny Cage. So we'll see how that works.
I still haven't seen the new one. It's on my list of things I need to actually get around to. But
boy, I mean, I'm gonna say this is just brace yourself.
Cover your expectations. Let's say that.
I'm going into the second movie with the lowest of expectations because I was very deflated. Well, Joe witnessed my overreaction. So Joe came over at 3 a.m. at my place the moment the new Mortal Kombat movie dropped on HBO. You know, it was during the pandemic where all the theatrical. So we got all of our food, we got all of our chicken wings. We're ready. We're on the couch watching the movie right when it dropped on HBO Max live at 3 a.m. And let's just say that I stood out of the couch and screamed out loud. I'm hoping the neighbors didn't hear me, but I was mad as hell.
Oh, that's a shame. I lived that when I first saw the Donkey Kong Country cartoon because I was like, this is gonna be the greatest thing ever. Like I called all my friends, like, oh my god, there's a Donkey Kong Country cartoon. It's gonna premiere this Sunday. You gotta watch it. And I sat down and just the look on my face, I'm sure, of just like. You know,
I never bothered with it because it never felt like, even when I was a kid, I wasn't like mad like you were, but it never felt authentic to me. So I never like bothered with it. But if there's any blessing, it gave us the infamous Banana Slammer, which is why we called Joe the moderator and Trollhammer stronger than DK Banana Slam. It's been a staple of NerdCage Live ever since. But that's the one thing I'm grateful for is the Banana Slammer.
As I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate what it meant to people slightly younger than me, and it's brought in a lot of people to the series, and was actually a big component of the Smash ballot getting King K. Rool into Smash Brothers, which was a lot. A lot of that was driven by like memes from the cartoon. So
and you said it best, like in your recent podcast, like Smash Ultimate, like I feel like that's like the pinnacle. Like they're not gonna surpass that. They might just be better off. Like they're just gonna have to like report that and then maybe add DLC to it if possible.
Absolutely.
There's no way they can improve upon that.
You're going to piss off people. I've heard people say, well, the way to do it is just take it back to the original 12 characters. I'm like, who wants that? Like, after you've given us this game that has, like, a who's who of video games over the last 40 plus years, like, how could you just strip it down again?
And I'm with you, Jay. I'm with you. They need the story mode that we just completed.
I was just going to tell you, we just recently on Twitch, we went back and played Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the third one on the Wii, just to play the Subspace Emissary again. And let me just tell you, like, you talk about shared universes.
Right.
That story mode, I mean, as much as I like the in Smash Ultimate the what do you call it, the spirit thing where you
World of Light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as much as I enjoyed that, it's nowhere near as great as that fucking story mode, Subspace Emissary. That and Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong are pretty prominent in that.
Yeah.
And replaying it recently, granted, I think you said on your podcast that the Wii graphically doesn't hold up too well. But man, that story mode is amazing. It's one of the best things story-wise Nintendo ever fucking did. And it was so cool seeing all these characters interact like that.
Yeah, no, that I think like it was one of those things where they invested so much time and resources into that they just didn't want to do it again. But I'm glad we got it. I'm glad it existed in that one iteration at the very least, because yeah, like as a Donkey Kong fan, like that was during the time where I was like super judgmental towards anything they were doing with Donkey Kong. It was like it was after Rare had been bought, and it felt like Donkey Kong had no stable direction, and like it was just contrasting like depictions, and so it was just really cool to see something that like Donkey Kong fans really love. That they love the way he was portrayed in that, and it was just perfect.
Yeah, and we see Diddy and Star Fox working together, and
and
one of my favorite things is, you know, Samus had an awesome role. Like I said, Metroid's my all-time Super Metroid's all my all-time favorite game, and like seeing Samus in there along with Snake, like it was just, God, that shit was so wild to like relive it again. Like wow, like this is like one of the best things Nintendo ever fucking did as far as the story goes. And I've been saying this for years too. I guess, man, we're going a lot later than I was planning on. But Hyle, one thing I've always wanted to see Nintendo do. Now let's take Smash Brothers out of the equation. Let's take goddamn Mario Party, let's take those out of the equation. I want to see Nintendo start doing this. I want to see them make games where Donkey Kong and Kirby are working together, or Star Fox and Metroid working together. Like I want to see like cross franchises, not just like in the Mario, or like beyond. I want, like I said, I want to see like Kirby and Donkey Kong team up game. I want to see a like I said, Star Fox with Metroid, or Star Fox with F-Zero, or fucking like something like go do something wacky, all right? Like I want to see more team ups that we haven't seen before in a specific game.
I think like that's an idea a friend of ours, Mitchell Wolf, had for like you can't perfect on the fighting game Smash Brothers after Ultimate. Like it's done. Like just hold on to what you have there, but maybe do a Smash Brothers RPG or a Smash Brothers a different type of genre that you could do that level of crossover. Because I think Nintendo is very kind of precious about their intellectual properties, and like we can do these crossovers in very limited capacities. Like we'll put Link in Mario Kart 8, you know, we'll do that, but you don't really want to have too much bleed through. And but I think under the right conditions, like the Smash brand, you could do that, and I think that's actually what you could do to keep that alive without touching the fighting game again.
Yeah, it's just something I've always wanted. At this point, like I feel like we've seen it all. Like you and I, you know, all of us, we're in our late 30s, early 40s. Like we've seen it all at this point. Like this is like the one thing we haven't seen Nintendo do yet. You know.
Yeah, and it's like Smash will always be a fighting game through and through. They need a crossover adventure game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's not built on just, you know, fighting each other. It's built on carrying them together and carrying through an adventure.
Yeah. I mean, like we've still never seen that with Mario and Sonic, right? Like they've only gone to the Olympics together.
The Olympic Games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe someday. But it is wild to see, like, you know, Sonic now kind of like integrated with Nintendo now. It's kind of just wild to see, you know, if you grew up in that era, it's like, wow, I never thought I'd see that, you know.
And not to mention the rivalry is still kind of alive and well a little bit, because you got the Super Mario Brothers movie, and then you got Sonic on Paramount and everything. So it's kind of still neck and neck. A crossover would be nice. I don't know if that legally would be a thing, but it would be nice to see.
Yeah, who knows? Joe, is there anything else that we haven't like covered the?
Well, like I always say, we should probably save some for the future. You know, so keep them
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah, because it is getting a little bit later than I expected, but this has been hella fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Hyle, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Joe kind of hinted at it, but Hyle, we absolutely would love to have you back again on NerdCage Live. I'd love to work on you on some maybe maybe we can do a Donkey Kong video together or something. But Hyle Russell,
Sure.
would you ever, given the opportunity, would you like to come back on NerdCage Live?
Yeah, absolutely. I can talk about Donkey Kong or really any bullshit for hours and hours.
Yeah.
You know, we almost hit a 5-hour mark on our podcast for the first time the other week. So
Yeah.
I don't have any restraint. So it's, you know, just give me a platform and I'll just vomit out the words and it'll be great.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just want to let everybody know, absolutely please check out DKVine.com, but check out the Kongversation. It's, if you're a fan of like Donkey Kong or rare video games in general, the Kongversation is just, it's always a good conversation, and it gets me through the workday. It's like one of my go-to podcasts. So by all means, go into the link in the description, check out the Kongversation. You'll be glad you did. It's Hyle does an amazing. Hyle and his entire DK Vine staff do a phenomenal job keeping it fresh, keeping it fun. Always finding something cool to talk about DK related and whatever. I love hearing their hot takes and their opinions. Like I said, if you're a fan of what we do here at NerdCage Live, I promise you will love everything you'll hear on the Kongversation. I just want to say real quick how I found the Kongversation. As everybody knows, my all-time favorite game is Super Metroid. And of course, sometimes when I'm bored, I like to check out Super Metroid videos, see what other people think and whatnot. I came across the Geek Critique. Josh, what's his name? Josh
Wallen.
Josh Wallen, yes. Phenomenal channel. If you haven't checked that out, he covered the entire Metroid series, including Super Metroid. So I am a huge fan of Geek Critique. And then one day, Josh posted on his community notes that he was going to be a guest on the Kongversation. So I'm like, okay, I'll check, see what Josh is doing. And that's how I stumbled across Hyle and the Kongversation. So because of the Geek Critique, I discovered the Kongversation back in 2020. And I've been a diehard fan ever since. So to have Hyle here tonight was it was an absolute honor and an absolute blast for me. So yeah, so everybody please check out not only the Geek Critique, but check out DK Vine and Kongversation. You'll be glad you did. It's great stuff. So here's what we'll do. I guess we'll just wrap up here. So here's what we'll do. Hyle, I'm going to give you the floor again. Okay. Promote whatever you want to promote. Again, everybody, the links are in the description and whatnot. And then Joe and I will plug what we got to plug, and we'll call it a night. So go ahead, Hyle. Floor is yours.
Oh, well, like I said before, DKVine.com. Somehow churn out news stories about Donkey Kong every week. We can also access the podcast there. You know, you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We put them up on YouTube. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com, DKVine. We working on lore videos if you've ever wanted to know how Donkey Kong lore works, which is a very serious topic, I'm aware. We get very scholarly about it, so be sure to give us a subscription. We're also on social media, all the major social media channels. Just recently went to Blue Sky as well, so give us a follow there, DK Vine everywhere, and I'll usually post something. I'll wake up at 2 a.m. with a very hot take about Donkey Kong and send it out. And yeah, we're also on TeePublic. I really admired the litany of endless shirts you were going through. We're also on TeePublic.
Is that a Pink Floyd shirt?
This is the DK Side of the Moon shirt. It's it's an homage to Donkey Kong 64 and the
banana coin. Yep.
The banana medal with the spectrum of banana colors.
Nice.
But yeah, we've got new shirts going up every month. We're gonna have a 25th anniversary shirt for our website going up very soon, and that's at. You can just go to dkvine.com/tpublic. But yeah, it's they're comfy. They're comfy shirts, right?
They
like
are.
It's yeah, like
I can
and
attest to
durable.
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah, for sure.
I feel like such a whore, like wearing my own stuff, but it
I mean,
it
look
really
at Joe. He's got one of our shirts on, the Nintendo 64 NerdCage Live shirt that surprisingly hasn't been taken down by Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because we're always Nintendo's taken down a couple of our shirts. Sony took down one of our shirts.
Warner Brothers.
we're constantly fighting T-Public all the time, but there's some that we got away with. So
the only shirt of ours that we've ever had taken down was a Frasier parody. Fucking CBS came after us because we did a Frasier parody for Donkey Kong. So that was a good one too. But yeah, all of our other shirts have held up. Because here's the thing, we make shirts of things that Nintendo doesn't care about, or Nintendo doesn't even know they own. So it's like,
yeah,
just revel in the obscurity, and the lawyers will be so befuddled, they won't come after you.
Excellent. So Joe, we got some stuff coming up here, but if you haven't already, Joe, our mid-season finale.
Yes, check out our mid-season finale with Doc Coyle of God Forbid, Bad Wolves, and the X-Man podcast.
And the boys.
Yes, our spoiler discussion of Season 4 of The Boys with Tyler Nichols of Joe Blow.
As well as
our Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler discussion with, and it was a reunion with Mark Withers, Pete Mason, Wild Band, and Dion McGill of Off the Beaten Podcast.
Now, if we have anybody from DK Vine, the Kongversation fans in here, please give us a follow at twitch.tv/NerdCageLive as this Saturday, Joe.
Yes, we will begin a playthrough of Max Payne.
Let's go. Retro gaming, baby. Slow motion. It's going to be great. And then Tuesday. So we go on Twitch on the weekends, either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. But we also go on Twitch Tuesdays. And this Tuesday, Joe.
Yes, we'll begin a playthrough of Batman Arkham Asylum.
And then next week, right here on YouTube on Thursday, a special gaming stream on YouTube and Twitch.
Yes, my birthday stream, I will be doing a one-sitting playthrough of the Leon A scenario of Resident Evil 2 Remake. No deaths. Hopefully.
Yes. We'll hold you to that, Joe. As Joe's old dusty ass turns 37. God bless you, Joe. That's because I'm older. And then, Joe, mark your calendars because as we always said, Resident Evil and Mortal Kombat are always in rotation. Therefore, Tuesday, September 24th, time to be determined, but on Twitch, Joe.
Yes, Mortal Kombat 1 story expansion, Chaos Reigns.
Yes, we'll be playing at launch. Again, time to be determined, but we will absolutely be playing it day one at launch. And let me just reiterate one more time. Your boy Jay will be at the Cleveland Gaming Classic with Tabmook99, Tosi from Komidogu, Justin McCollum. So if you're in the Cleveland area, you're going to be at this convention, come say hi, as we're going to be going to the Mortal Kombat reunion, as we're going to be meeting Ed Boon and John Tobias. So exciting times. I'll definitely share pictures. If you see me, come say hello. Maybe I'll give you a sticker or a t-shirt. I don't know. I'll see what I can bring with me. But yeah, Jay, myself, I want Joe to go, but you know, Joe's got to work, but I will be at the Cleveland Gaming Classic. So, mark your calendar. That is from September 18th through the 22nd or something like that. It's a pretty big convention down in Cleveland, Ohio. 5-hour drive from Syracuse. So, I'm going to be there. My trip's already booked. I can't wait to be. It'll be my first time hanging out with Tab Monk and those guys. So, I'm really, really damn excited. And I'm going to meet Ed Boon. I'm going to hold my composure the best I can. But I really can't wait to share the experience with everybody. I'll probably put some kind of video B-roll together. I'll do the best I can, but we will be there. So look forward to that. And of course, I guess while I'm taking up the fantastic space here, get yourself a NerdCage Live t-shirt. We have so many designs. I'm sure you've seen this design at least once in your life. Joe's favorite game of all time is The Legend of Zelda. It's not Resident Evil. Ain't nobody gonna fuck with you when you got a new NerdCage Live Wu-Tang shirt. Of course, we have our classic shirt with the strength of geek knowledge on the back. Of course, for you PlayStation fans, we have this one. As you saw, Joe's got the Nintendo 64 shirt. For you Dreamcast fanatics, we have this one. Oh my God, Joe, there's more. For you MCU fans, we have this. Oh my goodness, t-shirts galore. We have so many different Mortal Kombat designs. I mean, check this shit out here. Oh, look at that, Joe. Another one of your favorite here. It's too dangerous to go alone, so be sure to have this shirt with you. Of course, for you Kaiju fans, here, let me play that sound effect for you Kaiju fans. Get yourself a NerdCage Live Kaiju shirt We even have a NerdCage Live versus everybody shirt in kaiju form. Another Mortal Kombat shirt. Hell, if any size, any color, like the Barbie pink. Got Mortal Kombat 2 Fatality, Mortal Kombat 1 Fatality. And of course, for you Rocky fans like me, we have the Prediction Pain shirt. We also have If He Dies, He Dies shirt. So get yourself a NerdCage Live t-shirt. Any size, any color, whether you're skinny, booty color, fat, fuck, big or small, we love them all. Get yourself a NerdCage Live t-shirt. You're going to love the way you look. I guarantee it. The link to our TeePublic is in the link of every video and across all social media. And speaking of social media, Joe!
Yes, if you want to get us on Instagram or Twitter, both handles are @nerd_cage. Our link to our Discord is in the description. Become a member there as well. And our Facebook discussion group that is NerdCage Nation. We love everything you guys put up there. No spoilers, no politics, and for God's sakes, keep it civil.
Abso-motherfucking-lutely. So again, thank you everybody who attended tonight. Thank you to NerdCage Nation. Thank you to the fans of DK Vine and the Kongversation. And of course, big thank you to Mr. Hyle Russell, who we cannot wait to have back on the show. My goodness gracious, again, I'm a fan of DK Vine. I'm also a Patreon. So by all means, support this man however you can. Share that podcast with everybody you know. You're going to love what you hear. I guarantee it. So until then, we please ask you to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and spread that shit like the DK Banana Slammer. So to you I say from yours truly, the land of the orange of Syracuse, New York, Virginia, to all our friends and friends around the world at NerdCage Live and DKVine.com. As always, enjoy life. Stay safe. Eat your vegetables, do your push-ups, go to the gym, all that good stuff. Good night. God bless. And have the best day of your life.
Good night.
And stick around for our awesome Twitch promo, guys. And we will see you Saturday on twitch.tv/NerdCageLive for Max Payne. Good night.
NerdCage Live and gaming are a perfect match.
Shoot the J, Joe.
Okay.
Shoot it!
All right.
Over on NerdCage Live on Twitch, Jay and Joe go live.
Call me Bazooka Joe.
It's all about you.
Kaboom! Playing both old school and new school games every Tuesday night. Ooh, what a sight!
Jay, stop looking at her face and run.
But she's so beautiful.
So be sure to follow NerdCage Live on Twitch.
Run for your life, Joe. Run for your life, Joe.
Running.
Run faster. Oh no, Joe, the galaxy's doomed because of you.
To scratch your gaming itch.
Oh, nice kick, Joe.
Thank you.
Yo, that's diabolical. Wait. Yo!
That's twitch.tv/NerdCage Live.
Ooh, trying to get out of the nerd cage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!